There we go. Yesterday I had that quick flutter of terror because I didn't know it was set to the cloud recording. So you end the session and
Can you
hit
hear
the
me at all?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we
Yes.
can hear
Okay,
you.
I'm not seeing.
Yeah.
Usually lights up green around the person speaking. I guess it doesn't do that for the
Oh, it's
sender.
yeah, it's doing it
It's
on
lighting
mine.
up. It was showing it was green when you were talking in my screen. So maybe your
Oh,
Zoom
okay.
settings are being weird. Uh,
Mm-mm.
Okay, just checking. I didn't want to like start meandering on and no one hears me.
Meandering on a podcast. No one's ever done
No,
that.
this is a very strict formal setting, and I don't want to be a scofflaw.
Mm.
So you
you
guys
don't
want to
want
see a
to.
secret thing?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I need to come onto the Zoom screen again, but
If
sure.
you can see me.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow, that's
That's the
neat.
UK
Never.
one. Is that it?
This is the 50th anniversary release, and it just arrived today, and it's a birthday present for my wife, so don't tell
Oh,
Nice.
okay.
Nice.
Damn, you good. You a good spouse. That's great.
What is my random selection of movies coming in the mail? Let's see.
Is
Counselor.
it really random?
I mean, it's just Hateful Eight, 12 Angry Men, Nobody, Babylon, and Pulp Fiction. A few of those, of course, for our podcast.
Yeah.
Because
You
I
want to
haven't
know
Those
owned,
are,
something crazy? I've never seen Pulp Fiction.
I haven't seen it for 20
that
years,
is
and I haven't
crazy.
owned it for 20 years. So I
Yeah.
was like, I guess I'll buy it for 1,000 yen, which is like $6 on Blu-ray. I'm like, okay, that's
The only
Like,
worthwhile.
one I saw in the theater was the Hateful Eight because it was in 70 millimeter, and I have like the program that came with it because it was a special thing. So I do have that.
yeah.
But I
That's
don't
the
have
only
a
one I
copy of the
haven't
film.
seen. That's the only
I
Tarantino I've
think
never seen.
I think the only Tarantino I saw in did not see in the theater was Death Proof because that Grindhouse thing had a limited ass window.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
haven't seen the Grindhouse movies
Didn't you
either.
have to see it as a double feature when they came
Yeah.
out?
Yeah,
Yes,
I mean,
yeah.
What was the
I
other
had
one? Probably Jackie Brown.
You could have left
like a
halfway through.
ticket, a pass to it, but it was like at the drive-in, and it was super cold, so we were just like, nah. It was like
Andrew,
a
how many
birthday
times did you
thing.
see Pulp Fiction again in the
Oh
theater?
God. While it was in theaters, it
While it
was
was
in
in
theaters for a
theaters.
year.
Yeah,
Uh, I saw it 17 times,
17.
and I've
Okay.
never seen it since.
Makes
Uh,
sense.
That makes sense.
I
No, I was just
did
Came
see
saying,
out.
Grindhouse. Grindhouse
I
I
mean,
saw like twice, I think, Mark.
yeah,
So I
I
saw it
saw,
once
I
for
don't
you.
know. Thank you. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
Thanks for taking that bullet. I mean, um, no, I like most of it. That's just, you know, the, what was it? A lot of the Marvel movies I saw maybe two or three times in the theater and never saw them again after that.
You want to know, like, there's only one movie I've seen multiple times in theaters, and I can never understand why, and it was Austin Powers Goldmember. I
that's
don't
a
know
good
why I
That
movie.
did
was
that so
fun.
many times. Like, yeah,
I don't know
really.
why not.
Little
I enjoyed
Beyonce.
that when it came out.
I'll never beat
All
my
the skin box jokes.
I'll never beat my Rocky Horror record. It was every weekend for 2 years, twice a week, Friday and Saturday every weekend for 2 years. So whatever that amounts to.
I still
Well,
have
Hey,
this
there it is. I have that same
triple
set.
feature.
Nice.
Yeah, I
I,
gotta watch these
nice.
guys.
I have the set, but I lost the packaging. Well, I didn't lose the packaging. I threw away the
Very
packaging.
shagadelic.
It's
I'm
in
getting back
Yeah,
into
baby.
packaging hoarding though. But yeah, like Babylon, I got
uh,
one because it was also like 1,000 yen, meaning $6. And I've only seen the first half, and I'm realizing more and more if I'm going to finish a movie, I actually do need to get the physical media. If it's a file, it's just like, it
mm.
just goes drifting off somewhere.
See, I'm the opposite where I've been buying physical media and never watching it.
Jeez.
I've had a 4K player for like I think 3 years, and there are a couple of discs that I bought like within 6 months of buying it, and I haven't opened them yet.
Because for my
It's so much easier to. It's like it sucks. I have a bunch of vinyl that I've never listened to, but I've listened to those albums on like Spotify or whatever because there's a just push the button,
Ooh,
which
take that, physical media.
For my birthday, I got the Mission
well,
Impossible. So I've already watched like 6 episodes. Just like usually while
yeah,
editing podcasts, have it on the TV because
yeah,
you can kind of half pay attention to 60s Mission Impossible. Newer
yeah.
one
Uh-oh, I
too.
know
But
what our next podcast is gonna be.
no, Mark already turned that one down because it's 171 episodes.
Yeah, it's too long. It's too
Sci-Fi
long, and
Sanctuary
I
is
don't.
184 episodes, so come on.
Yeah, but that's not. Well, anyway, that also is not my podcast. So
Okay.
technically,
Speaking of that podcast, I guess
also
we'll
those are all sci-fi, and Mission Impossible is technically not sci-fi at all. So
right.
I could do.
It's Spy-Fi.
Yes, Wi-Fi.
I'd be like, you know, if you were like, let's do Deep Space Nine, that wouldn't make any fucking sense because
That
we
wouldn't
know
make any
people
sense.
who have done it. Like, I'd probably do that.
Yeah,
And
it's
people
done
from the
like
show
50
are
different ways,
and the
including by people
people
we know.
on the show are doing one too, you know?
People on the
Yeah.
show are doing it, and they've done it better already, and you can go listen to theirs. So, like, why would you know?
You
Well,
could
unless you're
do
going
that
to
for the
do it
Twilight
in
Zone.
like iambic pentameter or something unique,
Ooh.
then I don't know.
So I'm not quite sure how I'm doing this. One thing I know we're not doing is going episode by episode, as Brian learned yesterday. That's going to take 3
Because we got
hours.
halfway through.
Yeah.
It took an hour.
Yeah,
Yeah,
There's
we have to finish
36
it next
freaking
time.
episodes.
So
This
I
is the
assume that
longest
Sean is the
season,
Rams
too.
fan up there. Is that you,
Yeah,
Sean?
yeah.
I mean,
Oh, hi,
the
Sean.
thing,
Nice to see you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it doesn't let me change my name to Sean. It just leaves me as my email name up here.
But the photo's
Um,
accurate, right?
right clicking
Yeah.
might do something about that. But whatever, it doesn't matter.
I mean, the thing to do is probably to have a list of the episodes in front of you, and of everyone to have a list of the episodes in front of you.
Yeah, I got my
and,
DVD set.
That works.
Yeah, right in front of me.
Yeah.
Just make sure.
I got the directory open of the files for season 3 in front of me.
That works. I'll have my paper, and I don't even know if Andrew cares about that or not.
What?
Having a list of the episodes.
No, I don't need it.
I didn't think so. Okay, everyone shut up for 5 seconds and I'll roll this. Hello, welcome to Time Enough Podcast. It's where we look at all of the episodes of the Twilight Zone and beyond. A whole 36 of them today. We're looking at season 3 with a full house on staff. I guess
37.
Yep,
37.
37.
Oh, you know why I keep saying that? Because I never put 2 on my list. Because if I put 2 on my list, then it would be on 2 sheets of paper. Whereas if I don't put 2 on the, and I had already recorded 2 and I made
And technically, it wasn't 2 filmed in season 2, so
yeah, but it did air as the
yeah, it was the opener.
Was there more than one season? I thought it was
Well,
Nothing in the Dark was filmed in season 2.
consider this.
Yeah, I think
No.
there's more
Season
than one.
3, episode 1. 3 minus 1 is 2.
Oh,
Blam,
okay.
blew your mind.
Numerology. So the
Yeah,
full house
numerology.
today.
That's some real QAnon stuff you got going there,
Yeah.
Mark.
Yeah. Well,
Is Matt
I
here?
have,
I shouldn't chase that with what Brian just said. Hi, Brian.
Hello.
There's Mark. Mark was talking and I interrupted him.
yay.
There's Andrew. Andrew shows up sometimes.
What's crapping?
Crappy. And Sean's in the corner as a
Yeah,
clown.
I'm
as
in a
scary
corner.
clown.
I am.
I
Actually,
do
I just-
additionally.
Well, not scary. Sorry, I posted the Brady Bunch scary clowns yesterday. I made Mark watch the Brady Bunch scary clowns.
It was scary. I do have
Sean
I
seemed
do
really
have
happy to see
something.
that.
I have something to read here.
Okay.
One man ran, tried to get away from it. Put your bifocal on, watch me it cometh into your chamber like Freddy entered dream. Discombuberate your technique and your scheme. That was where I learned the word discombuberate. It was from Capadonna's verse on Winter Wars, Ghostface Killa, Iron Man 1996.
Okay.
Just that has been discussed on this podcast, and I just wanted to say that discombuberate does have a slightly contemporary appearance.
I think
No,
they
you-
also said discombobulated in there too.
I think
It
Discombobulate-
certainly said
Discombobulated.
discombobulated. I think.
Discombobulate is
discombobulated.
more common. I think that sort of is won out in the discombobulate versus discombuberate wars.
So okay, now we know about the booberating. That's cool.
When you started rambling all those words off for a second, I thought that was your attempt to mash all one word from the intros to, just, I thought you were
No,
trying to
that
mash
was
everything
much
together.
worse. That was much worse.
That'd be a good way to make a rap verse, right? Word
Yeah.
salad. I don't know. Let's get to these. I was saying, Brian and I learned yesterday going episode by episode is probably not the best. So let's just go on some random questions. First, just personal favorites from season 3 of Twilight Zone. I think I'll throw out Andrew's way first. I just have to go in circles on my Zoom screen here.
Okay. Well, I think my 2 favorite Twilight Zone episodes, period, are in season 3, and coincidentally, I didn't get to be on either of those episodes.
You do request your episodes.
Yeah. No, because I know that I'm sort of the resident horror movie guy, and I'm proud of that, and so I tend to pick the ones that are known as the freakiest scariest ones, and I'm good with that. But no, my actual favorites, Five Characters, In Search of an Exit, and was it the piano in the house?
Yes.
Those are my favorites.
Yes. Yes, the
So
piano.
I wasn't on those episodes, but those two are my favorites. Um, Five Characters, mostly because that was the first one I watched with my daughter. It was the first one I thought she could probably understand when she was little, because it involved, you know, dolls, and of course she loved that. And so that has a significance to me in terms of my family. And then Piano in the House, because I was a film critic for 10 years, paid. It it just really, I love seeing the critic admit that he's, you know what I'm saying, when he's all like laid bare and has to tell the truth. That just, I mean, it rings so true now in the age of the Facebook commenter and whatnot. I just, it gets better and better with age, I think. So those are my favorites.
You were on Five Characters.
Um,
Good for you. You can
Yeah,
have
I was
that
gonna
episode.
say, I think you were on Five Characters.
Was
A
I?
piano and
Yeah.
going
We'll
into
shit
this,
fire and save matches.
I mean, I'll say A Piano in the House is my favorite episode that I watched for the first time in this run.
Okay.
I had seen Five Characters and Midnight Sun and 4 o'clock previously, which are sort of my other favorites from here, but that was my favorite discovery, because I was just like, oh, it's the, I think the only case we've had of a, well, maybe not the only case, one of the only cases we have of a guy using the Twilight Zone against everyone he knows. Which is sort of like,
If it's
I
not
love
that,
it.
it's something
Like,
else.
I've spoken on other podcasts of my love for Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, like that kind of
Yeah.
savage parlor sniping, which is
Yeah.
just like this whole thing. Yeah. Love it.
Fan of Savage Parlor Sniping. Okay, cool.
Yes. It's my
Pew,
favorite.
Brian, what's your king of episodes? Season 3, king or queen?
Um, Game of Pool has always been kind of one of my favorites because I just think Jonathan Winters is so good in that episode, more than you'd expect. I guess it's playing against character. Um, I think a lot of the fan favorites are also my favorites. I mean, It's a Good Life, obviously, To Serve Man.
I was hoping
On
nobody would say To Serve Man. I wasn't going to say it, but I was like, I feel that's very easy to say that. I guess a lot of people
yeah,
do.
I know because it's almost a trope. It's like the big Twilight Zone twist is like defined by that episode in a lot of people's minds. It's like that's the twist, and that's what Twilight Zone is, the twist. And it's like, well, it's not always the twist, but it often is. Um, I don't know. I mean, there's some that maybe weren't quite as exciting. Like, we know we covered the Bradbury episode, which was okay. I can appreciate it, but it was like, again, there was like something vaguely kind of it was pleasant.
Well,
It
you
wasn't
straight up pushed the theory that something later was made that was better than it. So
yeah,
sometimes that's
yeah,
a
they
problem.
they
It's done better later.
they remade it later. It was
I watched
wackier when they
that.
remade it
Yes.
later. Did you
I
watch
watched
that,
that.
Mark?
Yeah, and I would
You like
recommend
your
everyone
grandmother?
watch it, because it's like if Willy Wonka was made by Cronenberg and also he was Mary Pop and he made Mary Poppins and Mary Poppins was a weird robot. It's very, very odd.
So it's
In
better than
a good
Willie's
way.
Chocolate Experience, is what you're saying.
Yes. I mean, you know, better than Tim Burton Willy Wonka, honestly.
Mark, have you heard of Willie's Chocolate Experience
Who hasn't?
in Glasgow? Yeah, okay, just making
Who
sure because
has? I thought that was
you
everyone had
respond.
heard that a
Yeah, yeah,
million
you respond
times.
with Tim Burton. I was like, no, we're going farther in Tim Burton here.
No, that's a whole different. That is something that is so funny that if you went into a writer's room to write it for a sitcom, they would tell you, no, that's too far. That's a whole other level.
The parent Karen
That's
Gillian expressed interest in doing a filmed version of that saga.
Oh yeah, there's already like a film based on The Forgotten. No, that's the future of comedy. That's what that is.
Sorry, I totally
Well,
sidetracked you. Where were you?
well, if you want to get away from yeah, well, The Midnight Sun's a good one, and it has that really great twist. Uh, and The Shelter is an interesting character study of people um in dire situation. Although that again, I don't know. Do you think the shelter played as a something that really went over well during that Cold War era, sort of, we can be nuked at any minute. There's enough existential dread in that.
My
Yeah.
neighbors have this in their, basement.
Yeah, I could, that's the one that's most relevant today, along with Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, which is, season one. It's like, because you're
Mhm.
taking human psychology and you're dissecting it, and especially what the world is today. I mean, can you not see this? Like, you could totally see that episode playing out today. People
It's
turning on each
almost
other.
Yeah, it's almost like now the shelter wouldn't work because most people would just be like, well, climate change is going to kill us all anyway, so I'm just going to die. Like
Well, I
people
was
are
thinking I don't know about the bomb threat, but I'm thinking about the whole
yeah.
like turning on each other aspect. That still is very relevant
Yeah.
today.
I I feel like that there's more like morosity, morose. People are more morose. They would just kind of just give up more than turn on each other, but maybe that's just them on the internet too much.
So I guess
Sometimes
as
they
far
turn each other on, Mark.
That too. Oh, that'll definitely happen.
were you done, Brian? Or
I was
I
just
was
gonna
gonna go
say,
into some.
yeah, I'll just add that I still don't know what the heck happened with Jeff Myrtlebank.
Yeah.
Is he just
Ah,
straight up
That's
Satan,
that's
or is
almost
he's
he
the
like
some?
devil.
He's a demon from hell.
He's
But did he
cool.
start out? Was he
that
from
one
day
makes you
one
wonder,
when
man.
he
And
wrote,
that
or
one has the
did he like
weirdest
slowly become the devil over the course of a few weeks?
What's
that
the
one has
devil
the
gonna
weirdest
do? Tell you
outro
he's not the
too,
devil.
where it talks about how they gave birth to a senator, comforting
Right.
Jeff, and then they're like, "Oh, this senator got his teachings in the Twilight Zone, and
Illuminati
he's very
confirmed.
shrewdish." I think they called him.
Well, isn't that what happened in like the Omen sequels? Was Damien became a senator,
Yeah, that
Yes.
was
Something like
part
that.
three. I think it was
right?
He was
with
And
just
then I
trying
Sam
to
think
become
Neill.
president.
I think
He's
was it
trying to
Sam
become
It
Neill?
president,
was.
wasn't
It was Sam
man,
Neill.
that's great. And then in the
Yeah.
books, there's something where he has like a baby with a sex worker, and then there's a bunch of other stuff that happens.
he?
That
Between
I
that
just, I
movie and
just skimmed these things.
between
So I
that
guess real
movie
quick
and
to close the topic of just the favorites. Um, my two, I would go and say person or persons unknown, because again, that's like a quintessential Twilight Zone episode. You totally lose your identity. Like there's nothing on like that, and this guy's trying to find some type of shred of evidence that he is who he says he is, and that's one of the scariest things to be in. I mean, we've already played that, like I think, what is it? Where is everybody? And
Yeah,
First
episode
episode.
one, season
Walking
one.
Distance. I think there was other ones like where they just lost their identity, and that's really like a Twilight Zone to me, because if you just lose everything of what makes you who you are in this world, I mean, you basically are in the Twilight Zone. You're
Word.
existing in the Twilight. And another one, I'd say Changing of the Guard, masterful performance by Donald Pleasance. Uh, God, I mean, I can't say anything that people haven't said about it already, but just when all the students are taking their time, saying what they learned from Donald Pleasance over the years as their teacher and all the life lessons that he gave them, that's like, that doesn't tear you up, man. Like that episode, I don't know, it gets to me emotionally when they're all showing what this professor means to them throughout their life. Sadly, they all ended up dying. Yeah, all of them. They came through him as ghosts. But yeah, that's a very emotional episode, and it's just crazy. They make Donald Pleasance look so old in that.
Well, he caught up
I,
eventually.
yeah.
No, for me, it's the double header, the A side, B side single of Death's Head Revisited and the Midnight Sun. Death's Head being one I had not
Hmm.
seen before doing this season. Although it's also with the caveat that it's not like a rewatchable one. It's not like I want to have a good time and throw on a Twilight Zone. I'm watching Death's Head Revisited. That's
Well,
probably not going to happen. Midnight Sun for sure. I've done that on multiple
I
you're
occasions.
not
I
going to throw out a tripometer on here, are you? At the end of this at all? Did you?
I mean you
Like
could
just for
always
an
throw out
overall,
numbers.
like I
I'll
think
ask
we
for
did
your
that on
five.
season. I think we did that on the season two wrap up. Like, what was the overall trippiest episode?
We
Yeah,
And
there
did.
you
since you
go.
did mention
Uh
Death's Head Revisited and Midnight Sun, I think those have to be two of the trippiest episodes.
That's
You know,
probably why I
because
like
Death's
them.
Head Revisited, the guy goes mentally insane within a matter of hours, and then Midnight Sun, she's the opposite of what she's dreaming is actually is going on.
I'd never seen Death's Head Revisited before, and I did really like that because it felt to me like it matched the intensity of a Chick Tract or like a Hellhound. It matched the intensity of like crazy evangelical stuff. So it was, enjoyable because it's because the message is one that we can all get behind. So it's
That
yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking about what is the underrated one, the one that you'll go to bat for a little bit. Maybe, it's not necessarily your favorite, but you like it maybe more in the reputation. Look at the list
Define
here.
underrated. I don't know what's
Just like it's not
I
like an
consider
iconic
Person and
one.
Persons Unknown underrated because I just really don't. I'm not going to use that as my answer, but I see that a lot of people just don't bring it up as much, and maybe I overrate it. I don't know.
Um,
I think that you guys didn't like 4 o'clock very much, and I did very much like 4 o'clock.
Yes, somebody likes 4 o'clock. I'm not alone.
Yeah, I really like 4 o'clock. It's just the intensity of this like screaming horrible man, and then the twist at the end is so absurd that it is great to me.
Yeah.
Like
And did
the
you guys
bird
ever read the
talking
short?
is
Sorry,
like
go ahead.
it's like James Earl Jones talking as Maggie on The Simpsons, and it's just sort of like what the hell.
this is a disturbing universe you found.
Yeah, basically it was. Of course, that it's funny because I did give Person or Persons Unknown a lot of flack for having a twist that felt kind of nonsensical to me, but the 4 o'clock twist is also nonsensical, but I liked it better because it's just this man is now inconvenienced horribly.
Well, I thought we got cheated with the 4 o'clock ending because they couldn't show it on TV at the time. Because from what I've understood in the true short story, that bird actually flies away with him, like it grabs him.
Cool.
Like
All right.
so,
I mean, I can see that happening.
we weren't going to be able to see that on television in the '60s, I guess. So they had no way of doing that.
I mean, they could have just had the bird fly away with an action figure and we would have forgiven it now, but they probably wouldn't have really forgiven it in 1962. So,
Well, the Invaders basically did that, right?
okay, that's fair.
I'm looking at my uh underrated gem. I think I'm gonna go with The Grave, which I didn't like watching it. I mean, I didn't dislike it, but I was like whatever watching it the first time. And then when I made the mental leap to understand, oh, Lee Major's character is actually stupid. I started to like it because now you're watching this really serious, gruff, manly guy, and you're like, this guy is a complete moron. I mean, he dies by what? Getting his
Lee Marvin. Lee
Lee
Marvin.
Marvin.
Yeah. I was
Yeah,
gonna
sorry,
say it's not Lee
Marvin.
It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, Lee Majors is different. Okay. But yeah, Lee Marvin, thank you. But yeah, when you make that break and realize, oh, he's dumb, this episode
Yeah.
suddenly becomes like kind of funny in a like smart way. I mean, writing wise, not him wise.
And I like how they dared him to go out there and like I think it was James Best in one of his roles in Twilight Zone. He's like,
Yes.
I knew it. I got a man's killed. I knew it.
He's so good.
That was the one that had the sister of the guy who was killed kind of taunting him and yelling at
Yeah,
him.
she was
Okay, yeah, no, that was cool. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just
She
like
really made it for me.
yeah, watching that one because the first time I watched it was like, it's okay, I guess it's another Twilight Zone Western. And yeah, that's when we're doing the podcast improve because we talked it out and we're like, yeah, this guy really is stupid.
I'm not big on my Western movies, but if you know like your Western stuff, supposedly that's like a big episode for people. It's like, oh, I know this guy from this Western movie and this guy from this Western movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of Western stars in it.
Added layers, yeah. Of course, doing the trivia week, like almost every single actor in the 60s had to be on Bonanza and Gunsmoke, it seems. So
I'll go to bat. I'm sorry, I'm just defending stuff left and right. I'll go bat for The Jungle as well, even though it's racist,
Nice.
but
It is racist.
Racist.
it's
I'm
racist
waiting
as
for
hell.
this.
It's racist, but that sounds terrible.
More racist than the mirror?
Of simply the fact that it opens with a guy who's just in his apartment and then his wife is just like, I brought all these things back from it was just sort of within like 15 seconds we go from people living a normal life to curse. But
Yeah.
just for the I don't know, fastest opening and
that's
I
how a curse
guess
works, man.
quickest
Matt.
ending because it's just he walks into a room and there's a lion.
I like
don't know.
that. I like suddenly a lion. I did like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Suddenly, lions. Hey Matt, weren't we discussing
Suddenly
Equality of Mercy?
mine.
Which is more racist, The Jungle or Equality of Mercy?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
I was
guess
gonna.
the Quality of Mercy. I was just rewatching that today. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna respond. Sometimes it's like in America, people care more. When Memories of a Geisha came out like 20 years ago, in America, there's a big controversy because it was Chinese actors playing Japanese roles.
Mhm.
Whereas in Japan, it just went into theaters and made a lot of money and then left the theaters.
And y'all are getting Oppenheimer now, finally, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah. So because I mean that's the Japanese thing because it's like, oh, well now it's an Oscar winner, so it must be important. And it really it did rub a lot of people in Japan the wrong way with Barbenheimer. Like I think that really sealed the deal of it
Oh,
taking forever to be
that
released here.
Yeah.
those rubbed me the wrong way too. And I just remember telling people, I'm like, yeah, we'll see you come awards season. We'll see all this Barbenheimer stuff when it's all Oppenheimer and no Barbie. So
Right,
Well,
but
that's a
I like love the Barbie movie, but
Me
yeah,
too.
in Japan they did not really appreciate that them being mashed up.
yeah.
So we only got Barbie at the time, which I saw in the
yeah.
theater and accidentally took a 30-minute nap and had to finish it later. Oops.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was after a full day of summer school, you know.
I
I've
think
been there.
I wasn't crazy about Equality of Mercy, which is an episode I have seen before, but I feel like there are real stories that are more interesting than that. Like what I don't know if this is a real story. Okay, there was a real story about like the Japanese guy who was on an island who thought the war was still going on 30 years later. Clearly
Yeah.
that is after this episode happened. But stuff like that to me is more interesting than what if you're suddenly Japanese.
We'll come back for season 5.
Okay, cool.
Hey Mark, there's a Thomas Dolby Richie Sakamoto video based on that story. Did you ever see it?
Whoa, no, that sounds awesome. I'll check that out.
I'll send it to you if I can find it.
Thank you.
Andrew, what episode are you gonna get a bat for?
I'm gonna go to bat for the dummy, for just because I think that there were already a few sort of iconic Twilight Zone episodes that featured dolls and stuff like that, and they're much more well known. But I think the dummy is, I find it to be the freakiest, mostly for that ending shot, but also I love the way the cinematography switches up at a certain point in the show, and a lot of people would find that jarring and kind of unnecessary. But I that's what I that when I watch it, that's really what I'm waiting for. I love that part. The ending, once you've seen it, you just kind of know to expect it, unless you're showing it to someone who hasn't seen it before. But that part is always really interesting to me, that choice.
Andrew, do you own a ventriloquist's dummy?
Not anymore. No,
Okay.
I'm just, I think I've become the dummy. Who's the
No.
dummy now?
I, that was when I thought the some of the voice work wasn't great in it, but the overall I love ventriloquist dummy, especially when they're evil. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
um,
that thing was right up there with the one in Magic, you know.
yeah,
I
and I
just find
love that
it
you guys
so
brought that
unnerving.
up because Magic is one of those things where it's this, I guess, kind of a lost horror movie that everybody finds that keeps turning up like a
Oh
cursed
yeah. Well, you know I'm
object.
gonna bring up Magic, man. I'm the horror movie nerd.
Hell yeah.
You assume
I
it doesn't
I
exist
didn't
after you've seen it because you're like, that can't be Anthony Hopkins. He was never that young.
well I mean he still
He
looks like
still
he's
looks
in
old.
his 50s in that. No, but it was like I first saw that maybe like 5 or 10 years ago, and then every once in a while I just talk to someone who sees it for the first time. They're like, "Have you seen this thing?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, you found it."
It tends to have that, yeah. So
Yeah,
that's the
Yeah,
one for me.
1979,
and
I think Magic came out.
the fact that it's I'm a big fan of small casts. That it's basically just Anthony Hopkins and Margaret and Burgess Meredith, and all of them are just like vamping
Amazing, right?
hard as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Any
Um,
other ones that you guys want to go to bat for? By the way, Andrew,
Um,
you can go to bat for the dummy, but I assume that I thought that was a pretty iconic one that most people liked. I know my
I
dad doesn't like it,
um,
but
I was gonna say, I just you know, when you tend to see like the action figures and dolls and stuff made in the t-shirts, it's always the other ones like Talkie Tina that you end up seeing, I wouldn't want a t-shirt of the dummy or a doll of it. It just the fact that someone made it, like sometimes I'll watch it and go like, I wonder if that, that half person, half dummy face is somewhere, just sitting in a locked up thing, or maybe someone's wearing it along with someone else's skin. Who knows?
Would you put Sean's five characters clown on a t-shirt?
Yeah.
I want to like
Yes, I would.
This time watching Little Girl Lost in the context of having watched the series in order, I do feel like that is the most Twilight Zone episode of the Twilight Zone, and it could pretty much be called Twilight Zone. I mean,
because you actually see the Twilight Zone in it.
Yeah, it's about someone falls into the Twilight Zone and they pull her out.
And they show it, yeah.
And the only thing I'd like to say, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say the only other thing is it's interesting that it's not dead center, but it's very close to the middle episode of the entire series. I know they didn't plan that out, and nobody ever plans we're gonna get canceled in season 5, but
right.
It's I find things like that interesting because they're usually never like how the Burly Brawl in the Matrix Reloaded is almost in the dead center in the middle of the trilogy, which I assume the Wachowskis planned that. It didn't work that well being there, but it was interesting that it was there.
I like that scene, even if some of it does look like a PlayStation game.
Don't get me wrong. I love the scene. I just don't think that it necessarily works good being placed there because a lot of the rest of the movie is anticlimactic after that. Like maybe that should have been at the end of the second movie.
Freeway chase?
Yeah, but that happens almost right after that. Like,
okay, good point.
You could argue the freeway chase is more intense, but I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying another big set piece. Like they were finished.
The last 45 minutes of that is basically like a guy in a room and then stuff. I don't remember what else.
I don't know. I guess I like it when a climax of a big budget movie's or a guy in a room.
I mean, I like that too, but I'm just saying the placement of it does not work well when the most intense thing in a movie is not at the end.
Right. Anyway, I guess I'll go to bat for the Matrix sequels.
All right, cool.
Not a Twilight Zone, but I'll go to bat for those. Sure.
The Matrix could be a version of the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, it's one of the more Twilight Zone-y movies on a massive budget, I suppose.
Just distill it down to a half an hour and make a Twilight Zone episode out of it.
Yeah.
Half-hour
Matrix. It's probably been done somewhere.
Oh yeah, super cutting.
Maybe in a later Twilight Zone series.
Black Mirror, probably.
Black Mirror is there's a couple episodes that are like that.
Matrix, Twilight Zone.
I might have one or two. Well, I was going to mention Little Girl Lost because even though a lot of people find it a little dry, I think I was the trippiness of the alternate dimension thing is something that as a kid it was like, oh, it wouldn't be cool if a door would just open, like the Narnia or whatever. So that was kind of cool. And I think yesterday, Matt, you were talking about one more pallbearer, which even though it's a little, chatty and predictable, I think I liked, Dr. No kind of going off the rails.
Yeah, that's one where it's
and
like
the mid-century
Can I ask you guys a question about that?
Yeah,
that episode? Like, okay, I know this guy's a real like pompous ass and like full of himself jerk and he's wanting an apology here, but what makes these three people like so self-righteous? Like that they can't even they have to be so above if the world really was ending, they can't even give them the satisfaction of just the apology, like at least one of them even. And that's to be all three of them. That I feel it's like this very self-righteousness. Like I know we're not supposed to give it to people's behavior like that, but I didn't feel no love from the other three either.
I feel like usually when millionaires trap you in their shelter, then you don't feel like apologizing to them. I don't remember the step-by-step details of that, but
natural response to a Bond villain, I guess, is that.
Well, like one was a teacher and it was like you're gonna really hold what he was doing as a kid. Like yeah. I know he's not the maturest adult here, but it's like he was a kid.
And she's the one I remember the best. Yeah.
Should she be the most empathetic out of all of them? Or I would say the priest probably should be the most empathetic out of all of them.
I mean, if they're really bad, then they probably never got any better. That's also kind of a rule of thumb. I don't know.
Well, but yeah, they perceive the millionaire as a jerk or as a dangerous lunatic. Maybe they're trying to. I don't know.
He
Well,
might
I'm
be
just seeing it too. Like,
clearly
you want to
wrong.
be so self-righteous that you're willing to just die than to get the satisfaction of just saying, I'm sorry. Just
I,
like swan a little bit of pride and saying you're sorry.
well, I guess imagine you were Elon Musk's teacher and he has now summoned you. You might. Oh, that. Well, yeah, he's
Oh, I
got a
would just start hitting
reputation as
him.
well. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So we don't understand like this guy's public persona. That might have, I could see where that could help a little bit as well. But for me, the episode, like I'm just like I like the performance a lot, so that's
Mhm.
what's sticking in my
It's a
mind.
good
Yeah.
And all
episode. It's
the
a really good
crazy
episode.
I like
mid-century
the
design stuff, I love that.
Yeah,
I like the
yeah, that was the
performance,
other
but
thing.
it didn't make sense to me that he hallucinated at the end that the world was ended because he was just upset, I guess. That wasn't entirely, I guess maybe the Twilight Zone made
Well,
him.
they like to set this season. They really like sending people wandering off, bewildered, confused, and insane, like in The Arrival,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes sense in a way. In a way it kind of doesn't, but that's fine.
In the
And again,
Twilight
the
Zone, they've
dummy,
been
that guy
mad.
just
The
ended,
end.
right?
Yeah,
He did.
but he was insane the whole time though. This guy was just angry. Well, okay, he was obsessed, but no. But I guess he had to give everyone some kind of catharsis. That's just feels like another one of those we have 37 of these to do and we're gonna attack this ending on.
Um, I'm thinking of episodes like Little Girl Lost or The Dummy for thinking who has gone deepest into the Twilight Zone in this episode. So I guess that's my answer right up front. Those are the deepest trips into the Twilight Zone this season.
Mhm.
Oh, well, and then the person just again, Death's Head, having your becoming completely eradicated as a person, deservedly, or in some episodes like that, or maybe not so much in other
Mhm.
episodes. Like the dummy guy was already nuts, but he probably didn't deserve to. And nobody deserves that weird a fate except the Nazi. He could have
Yeah.
that happened to him.
Before we
Yes.
delve into the next topic, or I don't know if we were shifting because you just kind of said trip, you were going back to the trippy thing. I just one episode I wanted to go to bat for was the passersby. Um, I guess I really like those Confederate wartime episodes, like Still Valley and was it something Seventh was made up of Phantoms? I think
I
Passerby's the
mean,
that was
Phantoms and
season
Still
five
Valley is the
though.
Witch Man.
I
Yeah.
thought Still Valley was really fun, except I maybe take issue with the idea that the Confederacy would stop short of like aligning with Satan because I think they would have. But that's just me.
Hmm.
And real quick too on the passersby, I like the whole having to accept death and stuff like that, like the woman having to accept her husband's death at the end. And the little talk she has with Abraham Lincoln, and he does that quote of all the wonders that I have yet heard, it seems to me the most strange that men should fear, seeing that death, a necessary end, will come when it will come. I don't know. I like that quote.
Yeah, I typically am not crazy about the like old timey episodes, but there have been some really good ones this
Yeah.
season.
That's
Yeah.
kind of why I chose the grave. I'm like, hey, that's one where I usually would like,
Then
underrated.
you had a couple rule themed
I mean,
episodes, like you had The Hunt, you had Jeff Myrtlebank, you had Hocus
yeah,
Pocus and Frisbees
I
on
like Jeff
Frisbee.
Myrtlebank a lot, and would normally I went into that thinking like, oh, this is gonna be dumb nonsense, and I really liked it. I liked the general thrust of it, and I'd never seen that one before ever. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, yes, well, the question I was throwing out, not quite the tripometer yet, but just what character or group of people went the deepest into the Twilight Zone? Again, I'm going to go Little Girl Lost for the literalism of it, and the dummy for the for a twist that like Andrea, like you said, the twist is coming, and it's always great.
Hmm. Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, my answer is the same. Little Girl Lost, because that was an episode that I was on, and that I think had the highest tripometer that you'd given to anything. For the mere fact of that, Serling says, they go to the Twilight Zone, and then we actually see where they went, and we're like, whoa, there it is, and
Mhm.
just how we talked about all of the ways that they are able to because there's special effects in that episode that are cool and very subtle, like the people going halfway into the wall and things like that. And but then you also get that all those just DIY visuals as well when they're in the Twilight Zone. So I nothing springs to mind that is more bizarre, I think, than that, and just in terms of what they were able to do with all their physical effects.
I'm gonna say 5 characters in search of an exit because they don't exist and also they're inside a can. So it's all they're almost
True.
like they're in a permanent existential crisis and also trapped inside of a can inside of a much larger world. Like I was tempted to say
That one gets
the
out.
Little People, because the Little People kind of also
Yeah.
was about a man who's in a tiny place, but like
Mhm.
he at least had agency. Then 5 characters in search of an exit are just trapped in a tiny weird.
Well, Little People too. I think that'd be more descent into madness. Like he kind of was
Oh.
in madness more than Twilight Zone.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean,
the
he
unreliable
Space
narrator.
madness.
He got his.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
did.
that episode could have just been called "He Got His." I don't know.
That could be half the episode titles.
Basically, comeuppance or something.
Yes.
Yeah. The comeuppance zone.
I think that might be Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Okay. Monk.
The comeuppance. What?
You know, I don't like this episode, and I'm sorry if I skipped somebody and went out of order here, but Young
Oh, it's your
Man's
turn.
Fancy. Wouldn't that be the trippiest? Because like that dude relegated to being a kid again, going and seeing his mom. Like
I mean, I theorized on that episode that he went back inside the womb eventually. So
yeah, that was funny. I liked your little theory about that.
Makes sense.
That seemed pretty trippy though for me, like the young, because it's like you just reverted back to being a child. Like that also proved the Twilight Zone wrong. The whole "you can never go home again." Well, this guy did.
Yeah.
He kind of did. Go
Yeah.
away, lady. We don't
Well-
need you anymore. I'm gonna play with mom again.
It's the Twilight Zone. That's
Yeah.
the impossible becomes possible. You can go home again in the Twilight Zone.
Well, no, like in walking distance, you couldn't.
Well,
Just showing
he
you
sort
couldn't
of
go home again.
did. You can go home and break your own
But you
leg.
could try. You could
He
try.
walked there and walked back.
Break
Break
your
a
own
leg.
Yeah.
You can't break your own leg again.
Yeah. Well, you got 2, so you can do it twice.
I never thought I would say young man's fancy, but just for that fact of relegating yourself to becoming a child again, like that's not trippiness. I don't know what is. I mean, it's not. I guess you were. I'm going trippy, but you were saying more Twilight Zone. So
Well, I was
Well,
kind of
he
getting
was
to the
saying the
point where
most deep.
yeah, the deepest, but that's kind of, I guess, it's like one hair off, right? So I guess we are
Yeah.
kind of talking about highest tripometer at the
and
same time.
obviously, I would use Little Girl Lost, but you guys people have said that already.
You can agree with people. That's fine.
Well, I
No,
agree
you
with that,
can't.
and then I do it.
No.
You can
I
never
was
agree
trying
with people.
Another
trying to-
crazy
Yeah.
thing that the episode that might have based the movie Poltergeist. I've seen Little Girl Lost.
Oh,
but
it's
I've never
definitely
seen I've never seen Poltergeist. I can't
see
even say it.
Poltergeist. It's very good. I waited until I was in my like 40s to see it. It's really good.
I keep meaning to watch again. I saw it on 80s television, so it properly screwed me up as a child. Yeah.
We'll do it. When I was a kid, I assumed that it was kid horror for babies, so I didn't see it because I thought it wouldn't be scary.
Well, because it's weirdly
That's
rated
why it
PG,
was-
isn't it?
It's just
It was,
scary.
yeah.
It's scarier than like 90% of R-rated horror movies.
It is.
Yeah, it's funny.
Certainly scarier than the reboot of The Fog that Mark and I had to watch yesterday. Remake.
Oh yeah, the least scary movie ever made. Yeah.
Brian, did you have one? You could take that as a dual prong, deepest in the Twilight Zone / trippiest. That works.
I was actually thinking like the least trippiest or the least deep in the Twilight Zone would probably be the Shelter, since it's one of those Twilight Zones that don't really have a supernatural element in them. It's just a drama in a fallout shelter,
Too real for you.
Because like
which happens from time to time.
Very plausible.
nobody disappears in this season, right? That's all I was looking for. I was like, does anyone disappear? Because that's happened in the
vanish.
Twilight Zone, but I don't think that that's happened in this season.
Well,
Unless-
person to person's unknown. I'd like his
His
whole world
identity
disappears.
No, he's alive at the end. It's just his wife disappeared, and
Yeah,
he
the
seems
rest
okay
of the
with
world
that?
disappeared or changed, and yeah, that was
and Also,
I
that
was
was a
going to
dream.
suggest Buster Keaton because he had to go back in time and know the future.
Okay.
He
And
seemed
then
fine
all
with
the
it.
silent movie shenanigans are definitely weird in a Twilight Zone episode.
But it's like you know what the future's going to be, but you can't really, do anything with it. Well, unless he did, but then there'd be like paradoxes and
Yeah.
stuff.
Points for
He'd
the
get
time
rich
hat,
when
of
Walt
course.
when the market crashed, he got rich because he cashed out early.
It's
Stuff like
been
that.
it's been a long time, but does the guy in the Arrival disappear at the end?
No, he just
I was-
kind of stumbles off
No,
into the airfield or something, muttering about.
Okay, never
the
mind.
plane disappeared, but he stayed. He didn't.
Yeah.
So
He had
a
never been
plane
licked on a
disappears.
case until then.
A plane disappears this season.
Well, the plane went the deepest in the Twilight Zone then.
Yeah, dude. What's
Was
with
it-
planes going into the Twilight Zone? I know this is another season, but you had King 9 Will Not Return. You had the last flight, like
Yeah.
these trippy
Chris-
planes in the Twilight. The
Chris-
Odyssey of Flight 30, was it 33?
They never
Maybe.
came back.
They're
Yeah.
fine. They just took a trip. They just took a trip and
This
came
is not
back.
the one
They're
at the end.
fine.
They said if you look up somewhere, you'll still hear him flying around.
No, that was the
No,
one where
that
they
didn't
went
happen.
to
They crashed.
They went to the dinosaurs and then they came back and they landed and they're fine. Right? Am I misremembering that
Came back
episode?
too soon. They came back to the World's Fair, and then they tried to go through the time warp again, and that's where they left them. So we never find out what happens to
Yeah, I
them.
think it's
They're
supposed
like
to
the
be a Flying
Dutchman.
Dutchman. Oh, right, Jinx.
Oh.
Also, literally flying.
We do got a Dutchman, but that's in season 4.
Yeah.
I'll wait till you get to that.
Were there any others this season that did not have any supernatural aspects? Yeah, the shelter does not. which makes
Did
it
2?
weird.
Because I mean that was just
2
post-apocalyptic.
didn't.
That wasn't really like trippy or nothing.
Yeah, 2 didn't.
I mean, chicken in a can. That's kind of
yeah,
weird.
so
That's not trippy.
people. I guess you could say I Sing the Body Electric doesn't because it's just technology. It's a science fiction writer
Oh.
writing the story.
Yeah, I was
I mean,
going to say that
technically-
one is it's just like the modern world, but there's technology in it. So that's like nobody actually traveled into the Twilight Zone. They were just kind of there.
Yeah.
Of course,
I mean,
then you could also say the trade-ins if you're going that way because it's just a technology we don't have.
Exactly. Same story.
Yeah, Midnight Sun. Technically, it's just something that happened in a dream, and then in real life, something else is happening. But there, I mean, the thing that is happening is highly unlikely, but there's nothing supernatural about it.
Okay, yeah, point taken. So it's just
Mhm.
highly improbable, the improbable zone. Yes, okay.
Yep. As opposed to the comeuppance zone. This is a different show.
All these new zones we're inventing.
That's right.
Wing
Next
zone.
we can get some
The future,
phases.
man.
I will say a fun video to seek out if you guys like Hocus Pocus and Frisbee and all his nicknames he has. They got like a little supercut video. It's like 2 minutes of all the nicknames he lists off throughout the episode.
Nice.
Can't go wrong with a supercut. Not to be like overly negative, but are there any episodes here that you would easily just like drop, cut out, machete order it?
Young man's fancy.
Oh, okay. You're going trippy, but you don't want it. Okay.
No, I really don't. That's like Mama's Boy episode, I call it, man. I really
Yeah, I
not that
wasn't-
there's any, if anybody's a Mama's Boy here, that's okay. But this was creepy. Like somebody used the word, and I don't know what the word was, but like this guy like might have been infatuated with his mother. Like I'm like, oh, that's kind of deep thought in it there, but
Yeah. I mean, it sure looks like it.
yeah.
Could be.
I would-
Could be.
I would take out The Gift and The Fugitive, which are the weird Jesus episodes, or weird kid friends with an old man episodes, I guess.
Alien Jesus.
Oh.
Space Jesus.
Yeah,
Don't
Alien
tell me
Jesus.
you're one of those people that thinks
Space
it's weird that
Jesus.
the old guy hangs out with the little girl. Because we didn't
mean-
think like that in the 60s.
I
I'm
yeah,
acting
but
like I
I
was
think like
alive
that
then.
now. I'm not saying that anyone who wrote this had any intentions, but I
Yeah.
just didn't really enjoy the episode very much. So
Yeah.
you know,
No, would you agree
That's-
that I think people looked at it a little more innocently back then, and now we're kind of
Oh,
like, whoa, what's this old
100%.
man like?
yeah, no,
Yeah.
no, we are much more thought poisoned in this era, but I can't tell myself not to be thought poisoned.
No, no.
You know, I can't
definitely
watch I can't watch it with 60s. I can, you know, it's
Yeah.
like I can say to myself, clearly they didn't intend this, but it's, you know, but
Yeah.
but also it's just not a great episode, I don't think.
Oh, the ending kind of got me on that one. It's like, it's okay. She's not hanging out with an 88-year-old man. She's hanging out with a 28-year-old man. That's much better.
I think that like there's something that bugs me about um everyone in you you need to trust this person who's separating you from your like who's not your family. Like that concept kind of bugs me because it feels like sort of culty.
Mark,
I
don't
think
trust
that
anybody except me. I'll never lie to you.
yeah, see.
Brainwash, brainwash,
Anything like
brainwash.
imaginary friend stuff has always kind of bothered me. It's like the things where you're keeping a secret. I know there's subtext to that where it's like they made Snuffleupagus become real in Sesame Street because they're worried about kids not reporting their abuse, and that makes sense because a lot of times if there is a stranger who is like, trust me, don't trust anybody else, don't let anybody take you from me, that's a bad situation. Like just you take any like whatever subtext, like predatory subtext out of it. You could be predatory without, you know, making it like that, you know.
Yeah.
I'm trying just not to say unpleasant things the whole time. But yeah,
Walking around the pit of despair.
I am not comfortable with watching just like a person being like, you have to trust me. Even Cavender is coming. I'll put that on there too. Same thing. Don't trust this angel guy. What the hell?
He's too
She was
wacky.
fine. She was fine. She was okay.
Yeah.
She was perfectly discombobulated, whatever the word
Yeah.
is.
She didn't need to be discombobulated by that guy. Also, that made me realize that I thought Carol Burnett was really hot, which is weird.
Yo, I am in agreement with you, man.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, what is this? Okay.
I was always more for her sidekick, Vicki Lawrence. I thought, I don't know, I saw her more.
Also hot.
Yeah.
But, you know.
I'm looking
No
at the
lies
list here.
detected.
While I did enjoy watching it, but if Showdown with Vance McGrew were not on this list, I would not notice it wasn't there. I would notice, you know,
That
what I'm
was
trying
my
to work
vote.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't very fun.
Be without.
Also, I keep forgetting about 2 because I didn't put it on the list, and what you've all have reminded me about that episode 3 times in this.
I remember
podcast.
your review too. You didn't, and I forget woman co. You had a woman co.
Dorian was on that one, yeah.
Yeah, you didn't care for that one, and I was like, oh man, that's one of the ones I like.
If you'd put me on that episode, I had what I was gonna do in my mind, that I was gonna make like an air horn sound and just yell, "Where is everybody?" Because that's like every single season opener so far has been, "Where is everybody?" Basically, you know, this King Nine will not return this guy alone. These 2 people alone.
Yeah, but at least it's 2 people now, right?
That's fine. It's just like
that's times 2.
Funny.
That's a multiplier
It's just
effect.
Funny, the repetitiveness of this desolate landscape is every season opener, except season 4. Nope, not that one.
Okay, so far from our machete order, we'll rock scissor paper about 2.
Take them all out.
We can drop Rance McGrew. We can drop Young Man's Fancy. We can drop Cavender. Okay, we're machete ordering this. Any others that do not make it to March Madness?
Remember I proposed taking out the Fugitive and the Gift.
Oh, right.
I don't know how people feel about that one.
I'm no rebuttal from me. Don't hate him, but no rebuttal.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I kind of like Young Man's Fancy, but yeah, sure. Right. Again, not one I'd go for bat for, right? I didn't call that as a going to bat episode.
Yeah, and I guess too, like, if we could have had another Ray Bradbury story in here, I would have had anything besides I Sing the Body Electric. I don't know.
No, that's it, because there was a weird. It was, if you read, you can read a lot about it, where it was kind of a weird thing where Rod Serling didn't take a lot of his scripts, and I think that he fired back with the Rod Serling and plagiarized his writing, which I don't think that he has much of a basis for. But also, I would have liked to see more Ray Bradbury scripts.
Well, there's a show you
could
that
watch. Bradbury basically introduced him to the staff of writers he had, like Beaumont and Johnson and Matheson's. They like I said in that episode, if it weren't for Bradbury, the Twilight Zone might not have existed, or it would have been somewhat different from what we ended up with, because there's a lot of Bradbury DNA behind it.
I think it's one of those
Even
things
though
where
himself
your
isn't.
band probably shouldn't have two lead guitarists.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah.
Unless you're a Southern man, then you can have three. Hey, Andrew, you are aware that you grew up in a house a kilometer away from where Leonard Skinner recorded their classic 70s albums. Are you aware of
Yes,
this? Okay, just
I am
checking.
now aware of that, but back then
Oh no, we
I
didn't know back
wasn't.
then.
And I have to say, I don't know if I would have given more of a shit or less than a shit. Oh, by the way,
Same.
the one I would take out would be The Jungle.
Oh, okay.
I don't tend to rewatch The Jungle. Definitely not as a grown up because it just I don't know. It's one of
It's
those things
racist.
where, well, yeah, but you also it messes up the whole thing of and Rod Serling. I mean, the Twilight Zone is still of its time, but we like to think of him as very predictive and also very progressive, and that sort of just puts a hitch in it, you know. And when I go to rewatch, if I'm making like I usually like to make mixes for myself, especially on New Year's. The Jungle's just never in the mix.
Is it too like campy with like the animal noises and just the jungle noises and
I don't think it's that. I just think that God, if you're African, the you don't get a whole lot of voice in there. You know,
Nope.
all it would have taken was for somebody that was African to do something that wasn't a curse on screen.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Just to show that that's not what
Mm.
they're like over there. But instead,
yeah.
it's just they're reduced to, yeah, all the hocus pocus.
Well, it's like a myth. You don't
I
even see
mean,
anybody.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean it.
You don't, which is, I think, better, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It would have been worse if there were actual like guys in there, but
You just
um
think about it, you know, at the time, what people knew of Africa and things like that. I mean, it could have been a chance for Sterling to have done something about that, but I'm not blaming
was
him or anything at all. I'm just saying it's not one of the ones that I tend to rewatch, and I, yeah. So in that regard, yeah, that one, I think they could lose it.
uh yeah, I there's always like anybody, no matter how progressive they were for their time, there's always going to be something that ages terribly, like
Mm-hmm.
rewatching 90s Star Trek, and some Deep
Well,
Space Nine is like really weird with sexuality. Like so I'd be like, of course, there's yeah, I could talk for hours about it. You should just go listen to Mission Log. They probably talk about it
Yeah.
a lot better than I
So
would, but
yeah, as
there's
time
weird
has
stuff
gone
there.
on, it's just not been one of the ones. You know, the older it gets, the less inclined I am to want to watch it.
Well, yeah. Voyager
Yeah.
mission log keeps bringing up Club Bro Men, which is around in what season 3, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I was specifically thinking about like the Dax thing. There's like the woman kissing a woman, but it's a woman who used to be a guy,
Right.
Hmm.
and that's why they kissed, and Prophet and Lace. Anyway, we don't have to get into that.
um, I guess that's the ones we're gonna drop. So let's see, we basically did the tripometer, I think, with who went deepest in. If and unless someone dissents
can
and
I
wants to
ask a
be,
question?
yeah, sure.
Is the hunt a little too oaky for anybody, or a little too
Yep.
is it A, a little too oaky, or is it B, a little too what's that word? Where you believe in the afterlife and stuff like that? Because I know they can rub people the wrong way.
We worked it out yesterday in
Um,
the live chat. I think that the hunt, if you're a dog person, it's great.
Yeah.
as I said on the episode, it doesn't make any sense to me that they would try to trick him into going somewhere he didn't want to go. And then also, it didn't make sense to me that heaven is where you can shoot raccoons and hell is where you can't shoot raccoons. So, yeah, it does
I
it
like whenever we
not
get
it
something heaven and hell related and we get Mark's opinion on it. And I'm not being
yeah,
sarcastic either. I like
it
it.
does not.
You make it for the episodes.
Yeah,
One
pretty
man's
much.
heaven is another man's. Yeah.
I mean, pretty much been an atheist my whole life, so I want like consistent rules, and I never get them. There's it feels like there's like a weird inconsistency there, and I guess if you made it make sense, then it would probably be really frictionless, which is what annoyed me a lot as a kid about the end of the Narnia books is that, spoiler alert, they just sort of go to heaven and they're happy and they're hanging out. That's like 100 pages. And you're just like, okay, well, but
No,
but that's consistent with the Christian afterlife, right? Like that makes sense. But
Yeah.
it's not great for like storytelling because you need
no, and
more tension
also
and things.
you're going right off of, if you go in order, wasn't Dead Man's Shoes like the one right before that?
That's correct.
Yeah, so I just think that you
Oh,
have, you know what I'm saying? If watched in sequence, you're like, what? You know what I mean? Like that last one was so much better, you know.
I think I figured out where The
yeah.
Hunt left me like a little unsatisfied. I like, there's film noir, and then there's like film blanc, which is showing you, fake heavens, like Defending Your Life, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. I mean, there's
Wings of
classic.
Desire. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
film? Okay.
Heaven Can Wait, where you get like film, and we get a little bit of it here, but we don't get much. And I'm like, oh, I want more of that. I mean, they didn't have
There,
the budget for it probably, but
Yeah.
no, there could have been a more interesting. I think that Young Man's Fancy is a more interesting afterlife than
oh,
that, and that's just
the Heavenly Candidate, that's fun, where he's just in limbo and it's just a train going in a circle for what, 30 years.
Oh my
was
God, I
that Dark
remember.
City? I don't remember that at all.
Dark City, I don't, it's something like, no, Heavenly Kid's like
Opposite.
1984, 85, and it's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
greaser.
Oh God, I
Mm,
forgot about
The
that.
greaser
I used to
dies in the
watch that a lot.
50s, and he
Yeah.
gets on the train, and 30 years later he's still on the train.
Mhm.
yikes.
And then he has to go help, like, whatever. Then it turns into Cavender is Coming, the movie.
I mean, there are a lot of Cavender is Coming, the movies. That's
Yeah,
part
that's
of
one
what
of them.
Cavender
Yeah,
is
like
Coming
that's
is.
what I brought up when I talked about the episode. Like, wasn't that kind of like the basis from like the Guardian Angel gives you what could be? Like, how many times have we seen that done? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Mr. Beavis did it better in
Yeah,
season
they
one.
did it
I
first.
didn't even
And
really care for
surprisingly,
that
both
episode.
those were supposed to be actual shows, and they didn't get accepted.
Yeah.
Well, we eventually got Highway to Heaven and Touched by an Angel, right?
I think if
If
they'd
you
done a
want that
Mr.
sort of thing.
Beavis, if they'd done a Mr. Beavis series in the 80s with Crispin Glover, it would have been fantastic.
Okay, yes, I will grant you that. Oh, look, the idea of Glover committing to a series
No,
seems
but I
insane.
guess that wouldn't have been the series, right? The series would have been the Guardian Angel. What if it's just this guy is just a complete train wreck and different Guardian Angels keep showing up trying to fix his life, and he just keeps going back to okay,
And then you
nobody
do
steal that
like
idea.
Love Boat style guest
Or
stars, right?
send me money if you're going to make that series because that's a brilliant idea for a
The
series.
Guardian Angels are all people that were famous 20 years before.
They just call it Arms of the Angels and play the Sarah McLachlan song at the beginning and like have sad animals there. They're sad that because the guy's such a screw up.
No,
Anyway,
not the sad animal videos.
You're starting to screw up your pitch
You
meeting,
have
Mark.
no, wait.
You're
There's boobies in
sabotaging
it.
yourself.
There's boobies in it. There's cookies. Everybody has cookies. Anyway, this is why I don't work in Hollywood.
Look at that dame. She's got some cookies.
uh,
Anyway, I guess I'll just ask if anyone has a final thought they want to throw out on the run of season 3 episodes.
I'll
Well,
say
go ahead.
Uh,
Go ahead.
I thought it was very funny that I didn't realize that Once Upon a Time was the Buster Keaton episode. Oh, hello. Until
That's Shaney, everybody. Say hi to
I always have
Shaney.
to remind myself that there's an episode. Oh, hello.
Hello, everybody.
also
waved.
that I
Sorry, I'm
didn't
on
know
the
that
earphones,
the
so can't hear you.
I didn't know the laugh track episode, which is Cavender is Coming, had already happened because my version did not have a laugh track. So
Are you just
Yeah,
disappointed?
I've never seen it with the laugh track. Ever.
I mean, not really.
Depressed.
Never.
I don't think it would have been better with the laugh track. So
Was
not
it
really.
released with one? I don't remember.
I
I
watched
think
it-
if
I
you have
saw
the
it.
Blu-ray
Mm.
edition, that's
Yeah.
where you get both editions.
Oh,
I watched
just
it
had
with
the
the laugh
DVD.
track.
Matt
I
talked
have
about it a
DVD.
lot. That's
All,
why
all of the Blu-rays have a choose remastered audio and choose original audio, and I always choose original audio because the remaster one just sounds weird to me.
yeah.
I want it to sound like a 60s television, right? So I've put on the
Yeah.
With the
original.
60 cycle hums.
I don't get that. That actually gives me migraines, which is why I'm so like I like to be Luddite and stylish with cool old tech, but one thing new TVs, yes, all the way.
I actually like CRTs, but they do in retrospect, they do feel like they're giving you cancer the entire time you're watching them.
No, I remember because I when I was in university the first 2 years, I was like a 3-minute walk from a movie theater. So I just stopped watching TV completely and just watched everything on screen, which was kind of hip.
Yep.
Sorry, the
Yep.
word came out weird, and then I said it three
You want
times.
to talk about hip? I still have a closet full of Star Trek on VHS. I was going to hook it to like an analog TV and just, I don't know, podcast. VHS
Nice.
Trek. I don't know what you want to do.
See,
Stream
that's
it.
where I get a headache.
You get
That's
in
my
trouble.
headache. Yeah, but no, some people dig that stuff. I get it. If it doesn't give you a headache, it can be kind of cool, you know.
Guess it should be a YouTube channel, but then they give me copyright strike for every time I showed something on the TV. So
No, a few years ago,
Sure.
we stayed at like an old timey, like a rural Japanese, like old school inn, and they still had a analog TV, and I was after 5 minutes, it's like, oh my God, just turn that off.
You're like, I
We'll
can't
watch
no
it.
more.
Yeah, we'll put it because I hadn't been around one for like what, like 8 years or something. So when being around it again and having the hum in the room, I'm like, oh my God, no.
can
So
you hear
Nice.
that like 20 kilohertz, it's like, real high pitched one? Or are you
yeah,
talking about
yeah,
the
I think
60?
that's what I'm getting.
Well, when you get old enough, you stop hearing that. I'll just let you know. Spoiler alert. But I used to hear that I could hear that when I was a kid, and I could tell if nothing else was, even if you couldn't hear the audio of the TV, I could tell the TV was on in the living room from my bedroom when I was a kid. I could just hear
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah. I always knew when it was going to be movie day and high school and stuff because I could hear it from the hallway. I mean the
Yeah,
hum.
that big thing gets rolled out, and the
Yeah.
TV's strapped to the thing, and they're rolling it in.
Well,
Movie
before I
day.
My
saw the
day, we
TV,
watched movies.
I could already detect that. I also another weird news. I keep the Bluetooth off on my devices unless I absolutely need it.
Yeah, I heard you
mean,
You
mention
can
that
hear
in
the
an episode the
Bluetooth.
other day.
Yeah, Bluetooth makes me feel slightly nauseous.
I mean, my stupid phone always forgets when it's connecting to things, so I might as well leave it off.
Yeah. And then when you update it, it always turns back on, and I'll be like walking around or sitting around being, why do I feel like crap all of a sudden? And I'll look at the phone and the Bluetooth's on. Okay.
Mm.
Are you robotic?
Yes,
Oh
yes,
no.
it's causing damage to my
Matt
positronic
Are
thinks
you
about
allergic to
electrics.
Wi-Fi?
Wi-Fi didn't seem to do it, so the 5G doesn't. I'm not in that boat. So
Well, some Wi-Fi is the
Yeah,
same frequency as Bluetooth.
I have a bunch of frogs, and all the 5G made all of them gay. So
okay.
you know
Frogs?
that's not true. I don't have any
You have a
frogs.
I
frog
heard we're
room?
up to like 7 or 8G now. I swear. I thought I saw a commercial the other day.
No,
We're not in 5G
actually,
no more.
5G is an absolute failure, and it sucks. And I often have to go back to LTE because it's usually bad. But the thing is that as you increase the uh, trust me, we're probably never see 8G. That's just not happening.
Okay.
It's already the rollout of 5G has been a disaster because it's like the frequencies get harder to project when they get higher like that. And also,
It's
do you
true.
even need 5G? Like I don't know. Do I need to download a 4 GB file in 10 seconds? Not
Well,
really.
In Wi-Fi land, we have like 6 GHz, a whole new spectrum, which is again another higher frequency. So you're probably going
Yeah.
to need more access points, but at least it's laid out more consistently, and there's more space for people to actually use Wi-Fi. Unlike the current situation where Wi-Fi it's a mess.
Yeah,
It's
I
too much
think
Well,
the
I
data.
have
idea for the 5G wasn't like you'll be able to download stuff faster because that doesn't matter so much. I think it's that all your appliances and crap can now communicate with each other.
No,
Ooh.
it's faster, but
So it
also
could be it's Skynet. It's also Skynet.
no. I mean, Wi-Fi
Bring
is
it.
usually bad. I have a mesh network for my bedroom. It's not great. Even that isn't great.
Mesh isn't great.
No.
You should
Um,
hardwire all your access points.
Now this has become the networking podcast.
This is the tech podcast now.
Yeah,
The tech zone.
I guess we're winding this one down then. So
Send your IP address to.
who has things to plug? Mark and Brian just hang out around.
Hey, you know
here. I
what?
know
Everybody's got
Andrew,
things to plug,
Yeah, yeah,
but
obvious.
me.
Well, I guess I put Andrew on point.
I could
'cause
do
he
a
has
plug
the-
if somebody wants me to. I could plug somebody something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do it.
Just plug us. That
Yeah.
sounds bad. Come on, plug
Well,
me.
if you like catching shows like this, you can go to patreon.com/podcastio podcastius. And for as little as $1 a month, you could feed Mark and Matt and other people. And Luke, you can hear the game show. Luke loves Pokemon, Space 1999, Occult Disney, Time Enough podcasts like we're doing right now, Films and Filth, and many more. There's so much stuff that he stopped doing that you can find on there. Like, what is that? Oral What was that one?
Oral
hygiene.
hygiene.
Yeah.
If
There's like
anyone's
thousands and like hundreds of thousands of hours worth of content on there. So yeah, everybody else plug your stuff.
Sci-Fi Sanctuary.
well, that's
Yes,
still back
Sci-Fi
there.
Sanctuary.
I scored a film called Content the Lo-Fi Man, which you can see on the YouTube channel Alter. That's my plug.
Ooh,
Oh, that's it. Okay, you're finished. Okay,
Mark
Andrew.
did an actually cool,
something.
constructive thing in movie making.
Yeah, I did that like 2 years ago. I'm completely creatively bankrupt now, but it was fun while it lasted.
Oh, is it my turn?
Don't we
It's
got
your turn.
Gonzorific on here?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's do that. Okay. Right now you can get my book Everybody's Everybodies on Amazon. It's 44 photos of my friends naked. Hey, thanks, Mark. Yeah.
Anytime.
Along with interviews with women over 30 about the ways their relationship with their bodies have changed over time. I just shot a feature film here in Athens, Georgia, and it's in post production now. It's gonna come out on Tubi. I'm pretty sure that's where we're America's Video Store is what we call Tubi. But yeah, it's something I did with a local stand-up comedian, and she pretty much improvised the whole thing, and it's just like a descent into madness. And it was shot in an actual haunted hotel room at the Graduate.
Nice.
So there.
Ooh.
And you can get all the regular Gonzorific stuff, Space Boobs and Space, Bad Girl Dracula, etc., by going to gonzorific.com.
All right. We'll see y'all soon. We're in the middle of this is the oasis and the hiatus of the podcast,
Yeah,
but we will be
it's
back.
your brief respite from all the super long episodes that you're about to experience.
Yeah. So we'll be coming back on April 1st with something, and then April 8th with In His Image. For sure. If I get hit in the head by a missile now, it'll still come out. It's uploaded. It's in the chamber.
So
a hot one in the chamber.
I got a
You
hot
thought
one in
you-
the chamber.
thought your missile was going to stop that episode from coming out. You're wrong, listeners.
And guess what? I'm from the future, so I can say I've already listened to it. So what now, everybody?
Hey, it just occurred to me, it's like an
could-
anniversary of sorts for Sean and I, because we were on the season 2 wrap up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
except that
So-
was more than a year ago, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
the pandemic or something.
Yeah, it was more
when
than a
time meant
year
nothing.
ago.
Season 3 lasted 5 forever, so especially with the strike in there.
So until next time, where is everybody?
in season 4.
Yep.
Okay, I'll make a cut there. Cutting it out.